I wanted to make a quick video today showcasing one of the lesser known Mauser 98 variants out there. This is a Colombian Mauser Model 1950 made by Fabrique Nationale in Belgium. Made in both 1950 and 1951, and from what I understand, these were actually made on German machinery after the war. Germans obviously had all that confiscated from them, and a lot of it ended up at the FN factory, which is how these came to be. No production dates on these rifles, unfortunately. I'm not sure if this one was made in 50 or 51. They're chambered in 30-06 Springfield. After the war, the US was selling off all their surplus M2 ball, as they knew they wanted to develop a shorter cartridge, which of course ended up being the 7.62x51. And right around the same time that cartridge came out, they were selling off all their 30-06, and the Colombians were happy to buy it. They ordered these rifles from Belgium in order to shoot that 30-06, and that's what you have here. Obviously all the M2 balls pretty much dried up off the market. I've actually never even seen any up here in Canada, but luckily Hornady makes this 150 grain projectile, which they claim is identical to the projectile used in the M2 ball ammo. So you load that up with 49 grains of IMR 4895, which is supposedly very similar to the powder used in the M2 ball, if not identical, and you have yourself the same rounds that these rifles were designed to use, and they shoot very well out of these rifles, I gotta say. This particular rifle was Parkerized, which means it's for the Navy. A little bit better protection from water, moisture, humidity, condensation, all that kind of stuff, which people in the Navy are sure to come across. The standard issue Army ones were just your standard bluing. Pretty much identical to a 98, just a few little cosmetic differences, and I'm going to point those out to you here. Before I do that, I'll point out that the Colombian crest was removed. I believe most of the crests were ground off of these rifles before they were imported on the surplus market. This particular rifle was handled by good old Bubba at one point. He tried to drill and tap the receiver and did a pretty pathetic job. Those holes have since been filled in and covered with this kind of grayish silver enamel. Most of these model 1950s you'll see will have some sort of gray crap smeared over where the crest once was. I guess once they ground those crests off, you were left with a big ugly bare spot of metal there. But starting from the back, you'll notice there's no disc in the buttstock like you see in the K98. Those little discs are there to help take apart the bolt for bolt disassembly. And you'll notice the sling also attaches to more standard sling mounts there, as opposed to the cut in the buttstock like you'd see on the K98. Moving forward, the mag wells on these Colombian Mausers were actually lengthened by about 1/4 inch to incorporate the longer 30-06 cartridge, since it is a few millimeters longer than the 8mm. The stripper clip guides on these Colombian Mausers are actually made to take the 1903 Springfield clips rather than the standard Mauser clips that you'll use in the K98 and other variants. Seeing as how these were chambered in 30-06, it only made sense to use the appropriate 30-06 clips, which kind of sucks for me because I've never seen them for sale. I can get my hands on the standard German 8mm clips no problem, but as far as the 1903 clips go, they are pretty much unheard of up here in Canada. Now you'll also notice the handguard comes behind the rear sight, similar to that of a Yugoslavian M48 Mauser, where on the K98 it doesn't. It stops at the front of the rear sight. The barrel lengths are pretty much identical. The German Mauser has an extra 1/4 inch barrel length at 23.5 inches. The Belgian Mauser is 23.25. So very, very small difference there. The sights on these Colombian Mausers are graduated from 1 to 1900 yards with 100-yard increments. Pretty standard run-of-the-mill sight there. On the German Mausers, they are graduated from 100 to 2000. However, these ones go up in 50-yard increments, which is kind of nice. Barrel bands, for the most part, are the same. However, once again, the sling attachment is slightly different. You have kind of a more modernized pivoting sling attachment on the Colombian Mauser, or on the German, it's just a side attached sling there. Bayonet lugs are pretty much identical. And you'll notice on the front sight there was never that little notch cut to hold the front sight hood like you see on the K98 there. So these Colombian Mausers never did have the front sight hood there to protect the front sight. This particular K98 was a Russian capture, so the sight hood, the cleaning rod, and even the set screws there were scrapped after the war. Russia really needed metal, and they took it any way they could. But other than that, you pretty much have an identical K98 rifle. Very high quality rifles to come out of FN, everybody knows that. Very accurate, very nice trigger on it. Crisp, no creep. Definitely an improvement from the wartime K98 trigger. But obviously the Nazis were long gone by now, so they had a little bit more time to put love and care into these rifles than they did in 1941 when that other K98 was made. As you'll see there, Fabrique Nationale. I'm not even going to bother to pronounce the rest of it because I will butcher it. Very, very nice rifle. Fairly unknown, uncommon. There's basically no information on them. Very few YouTube videos, few articles on the internet. I'm guessing that's due in part to the low production numbers, because they're definitely one of the better Mauser 98 variants. I'm sure some people would tell you they are the best Mauser 98 variants just for the simple fact that they were made in Belgium. Post-war especially. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Awesome rifles. Like I said, very accurate. This one's got a really good bore on it, which is good because that K98 certainly does not. Unfortunately, it's pretty shot out. But the old Belgian Mauser sure makes up for the lack of accuracy in my German K98, that's for sure. At any rate, just wanted to do a quick rundown, showcase these beautiful rifles side by side. And thanks for watching, guys.